they still out? Or did they just get it?
Yeah, while ago. NDA. I guess. You probably be not good. I'll start soon.
The United States military was speaking versus rumors was running knowledge back in 10 against cyber squatting. The advantage is cyber squatting. All groups are broadly paid. That's why we got this time is going to be cutting so business cyber squatting was doing names. Similar to those three versus UC, UCA, and easy relevant and larger domains. Well, how many percentages of massive activity was technical? Not how it's going to come to those squatting experiments to use these tasks. When we are solutions, they will come to storage as necessary factor. How come strategy is important strategy? HBA patterns are split currently versus are consistent. Increasing consumer confusion, hard trademark on this topic over for the HBA on factory back then was doing identify back then was obviously doing it started use that was the experience to what was not sort of using used to be soft domain ultimately with the experience that it were back then and we resources to really net was beer stores and recovery as well. I used to from the last what you used to do is we paper honestly what you used to do in the water was with the guy over all the regarding situation shots got it really longest and was used to China sorry when he was used to that so we used to was for all we had to use living for me when there's many every schools this you probably can do it somewhere about email him this is very well this is by about credentials and we're going about the machines everybody looks like speed I'll see you place how they go well so the questions into as thanks for the actually people's game works game really fucking well is probably space. Zero one spear fishing, building the stuff going, accomplish the fences and the ego, and it comes deep on seagull. When you go visit for the reason for the junior was that's working on the communication now we're going to build about you know, the person of the West Side, so it's not security, opportunity was going to win again, we speak, percent of you there, the physical security, all the use of like security access, the supposed to come to say, riders are really best, and all the these are the supposed to be use that, and speaking accuracy, AI, just speaking last week, and need somebody with a now invitation, and resources, Western ecosystems, because access was going to miscalculation acted, money. Woodward versus because the escalation will think about the options now the accelerating most of the lessons is the one who goes to the part also I used to that and matter and I keep saying down your like I see that instead of going and then you go to the matter which you go and say after that keeps all the intended I think you go to coming out of like that is from it every state is what like also about the journey significant escalation scenario 2 South Asian disability Southeast Asian disability US and South Scottish name because citizens is going to building Southeast Asian which part of the air probably reduction and preventing for war use to consider South Asian and we will the these are these everybody probably never going to point as well and the bring watching the adult of these many other world also go to America's long was there the best of the so we will be already see the all for some 20 this house is on all and average was most my plans and let's just be honest me much to do now and we're going to come to cross every ready and work out any other jurisdictions all sports I was going to ACA prison well to be sued domestically and was going boys me observers in the original coming up to where which it is also the US Health and Border State Acts and estimate Texas jurisdiction countries are currently already on edge so after 16 Southeast Asian people the winning Chinese there was going to increase in my whole as we cross the other day as we cross the news multiple person who offense as already does exactly years and we say we both ask about the accuracy of the passes so we can actually start to bring any of the their source we can now about attack word on the process the and you say with Japanese and be vulnerable and you have further you could travel in the future you go as for and for any such therapy terrorist activities you sound good strategies to access the target information FU and the service US national associates can strategies campaign which targets a bunch of operations service with details as well as the security is one thing and the very fact that idea with what you call as a visa and the nation that there is a message for the video was the access that's what it was you can need but you want to use and you can actually do so you don't have these terrorism calls station person continuously increasing cover and I was with you yeah there's was worth the only and got it was easy as we can tell us notice what it those guys I say that police and the subject was using the bubble as we could be talking so many missing there was going to be one time and we saw it after and it's not the student response like of course and receiving examination that is existing woman proceeding to work when these scams contradiction dude when these scams are about these were as well have the one or we should see go all the security and people city law as well as people of the go get incident before that is the real test about how we can advance for databases especially actually across all the databases double the last 4 years all the 24 especially across the databases and we show the running in the runner eagles and we have the planning to go as like actually so no matter the actually as well as like the reason of the organization across the design like go to the across 40 million which is received by thousand we have all million records so healthcare databases provides longest data of lasting consequences for the issue you're not just before we just have to say what is the data these bodies these was made contributions for network service that will get taken into consideration there all over the research will be and officers resource of the beach recovery responsibility as a result of the recovery responsibility of the last beach we just names also came from PII but works the interest detail about data how many ways larger processes the collapse US healthcare graduate we want healthcare see when the viewers work on national news about the data about this about this that rather than that we should about ways from overseas all of the research was the person that any confident dealing about the research is asking all the device to link up to the advanced resources. Since the bottom of the pay, where from you, where you can have so the research actions to down the middle of these practice. That's probably the one come. I don't see any of these practice for it. And all the numbers healthcare class plus disease, bio tax spend method. So the useful healthy body for the water, and the program of the disease factors of it. It's about the healthy other person understanding of better data visit from the panic. I can associate disease constitution greater one. Sounds like a really the body, those devices, and go to 0 to lead the and increase in more versus who's in the class of being such a overall system, how best the event is the restriction, budget tax cost next covered, and average of the. Generally, every focus is the national service, so we are supporting the law of the other affairs, the other access, so environment is the and the issue becomes the same, as the actual aspects are introduced about the precision and design is research with those, this word relation in the other cases with the universal society cases, but we basically the bottom markets in the tax question, as we all several times, here's the equalization, so I'll level my person, and many ASPA's most effective solution to start squad up, and so we're going to be most up to the university and become the rules of the station, depending on the cost of the progress, on the spectrum is the then now used to be by that, but then now used to be sending so many using emails, so the request is because the question is about the risk cost, it's been on the be useful. So these key business individuals favorite frankly can be used not abused with brother in deciding to domain this, other something but to do it in not to use it possibly, the depends on what the point with the first records, it's the general role of business inspection, it was really scan, observe the course then what we have now, only moving with information of the ACPA results, I was going to so the environment opportunity to draw interpret as well as going to stories that have lived in the same house, causing me to bring a lawsuit to single responsibility in 20 days, because from the course of the learner, we were glad to be back in the course of the true success and results going out, and we were just reading the legal axle, a company of the level of litigation parties who read more than the day, I will kind of his names for introducing litigation, the increasing and running efficient on the conversation, interpreting registration necessary for the purpose of the ACPA, the gut, it did not include registration ACPA in the school, all the acts of the person who were in the so we were all of that was asked about the time, but we said that all these would explain person and okay, of these bad videos is going to have cost business, I would explain when it asking how to person, other videos is now acting the cost direction and purpose going in the act. Progressive growth is good possible. What is the economy of the money which are said the rest of the videos, nothing you guys was the concern you will know, that you're going to go and also have like reason, I mean, you're supposed to get increase of the ability of like, also you can be sure about asking you then I'm leaving the know, recommend you to obviously do that, also we can do videos you will also you need to do more, all the good times to the goal and goal, as you go there and bring the city, something of the countries, see what I was supposed to be actually was used cost the foundation to reduce bill, reduce other reduce cost about reduce cost about rules, about also the reduce bill, exactly expecting reduce next innovation and science.
The need to expand non-use and bad faith intent against cybersquatting.
Yeah, so this means that when the court is deciding who is liable for these cyber squatting cases, they're also need to decide whether first a trademark owner does not use it, and most commonly this is the cyber squatters who do not use their trademarks because they want to instead use these other trademarks. And second,
Let's say a cybersquatter is using the trademark, would they thus be able to keep their trademark rights?
cyber squatting using the trademark, they're held liable for the cyber squatting.
Okay, let's say someone has a trademark, they aren't using it, a cybersquatter is using it, does a cybersquatter get the rights now? I'm just confused.
They're like so here's the thing, use in commerce is like defined by the Lanham Act being part of like, you know, you have to get a trademark, you have to use it. So people who are not using it must be people with bad faith intent and people who are cyber squatting. People who are using it either would have good faith intent, would not try to convince.
But I thought your whole point is cybersquatters are using it now, that's the problem.
Like both cyber squatters are using these against other trademark owners, but they're using it in bad faith, which is why we're saying it with non-using bad.
The first scenario, how would
Intent.
the app secure the military against foreign malware?
It would hold the foreign like powers liable. The in-ground jurisdiction card indicates how, like, let's say a foreign cyber squatter is held liable for cyber squatting, he can be sued in domestic US courts, which prevent them from effectively pursuing the military. Because they
Yeah, but how does
yeah.
cybersquatting result in like malware infiltrating our cyber systems?
Cyber squatting results in malware, so what's the question?
How does it result?
The CCOM evidence is really good about how, first we identify that the key internal to phishing is cyber squatting, because that makes phishing attacks more likely, and our CCOM evidence is really good, that actors right now are using phishing attacks on these military sites, that government officials accidentally click these links, and they hack into our nuclear systems.
Okay, so the second scenario, the Southeast Asian one. So the internal link is about hurting democracy and law enforcement, but your impact card is about aggressive military postures in those countries. How does the app solve the aggressive military posture?
Sure, the South Asian instability scenario, the terminal is just saying that any instability in South Asia escalates because of all these different
said,
military measures.
your card says instability occurs because they are aggressive military with their military, how does the app solve that?
That is not our argument. Our argument is that the region is unstable right now. Further instability caused by cyber squatting can weakly destabilize.
Your card says it's unstable because of that, but, okay. The terrorism scenario, the app takes away phishing as a form of funding for terrorists. What evidence do you have that says that absent phishing, they would just throw up their hands, not do anything? Like, there's other vectors where terrorists can get their money, like smuggling, fraud, gambling, etc. Why would they just go to those?
I mean, well, we've read evidence that says that the cyber terrorists, the main way they fund their activities is through such things like DDoS attacks, malware, social engineering, using connections.
You all mind if I put John in here? Not, can we borrow this?
Hey. It's a bit wobbly last time and then it goes a bit like.
It's gonna be second off.
So, let me give me a second to set the, or already the one and see off. Give me a second to set my partner and then, yeah. Now I'm moving it.
And
Okay, selfless protection and culture, property rights protecting all boards and selfless and housing aid, different protection by needs in the country for residents under slaughter for this secure price and all for by needs go all activity throughout an area where the resident donation be throughout violation after not further protection throughout the entire area of trademark by legal on the after target municipal parts of each of the top three topic areas by extension mobilize the number of probable accidents quality and kind of hospital this happens it is taking the code expansion kind of like United Commission well then watching service and distributed every chapter quarter educate all pumping employees in the season and then some awareness of permanent sphere the fishing attempts such as Alice and Asia the use of protection and guarantee military crisis and increased coverage of the nation and increased attention that investigations with issues that issue with the government and crack on it, which is funny, when not public hospitals and provide the resources, strength, and security for them, will be the customer obligations and natural law proposed, starting 90% and about I guess I'm describing like was on the entire presentation, so products and ad, but they got about this, who want to see evidence to confirm, like Jews also severe, this severe fishing, they're open up business and army education points also about it, that's also one of the applicants proactive protection and on the plank three also Asians, but because I'm sure they want I think the ward, even in the case of instability and the rest of it's also so the actual least of Christian Gaels for writing without taking any control as a generalized board of necessary respondent accent to rest of curiosity where say all an obligation whatever and also obligation to gradually consent general attendance to baby civil or the order of the deputy interpretation reinterpretation actually creates a form of encouraging the receipt blessing the board and just did the basic CIO do coalition with the days and national training complicated form of education with CIO change dynamic of public dividing training the products and terrorists working minimizing conflict needs to be these by the trust people with mission that security protection chamber not a problem about security logic have see protection by these become a rallying cry for security networks no knowledge and no control the secret must be able to know how to supply people and security discourse after the providing this session no happening comes to security the risk message of protection and private academic agencies organizations that means that the grace given the available limit on offers on these situations measures security advance upon protection from medical security just with running on effective by these and analyzed the technological security placing on pressure securitization by the more later military budget security knowledge protection the values and mechanisms as well as some resistance also the theme whether conditions agreement national centralism years into gorgeous but about rationalizing possession of indigenous nations and writing those kinds of digital values for videos more than ecologically economically sustainable US agreement so much to those markets killing those and poverty millions or like produce government the main end you government in nuclear whatever make away body guarantees spirit one what's away these are dangerous forces that exist on the map on earth against the country was national security because these military seek us these rest regardless of anything about ship and I could just security parameter chapter 21 security needs to be retarded security against what's violent these questions of nature of this organization and legitimizes exceptional measures representation media the recommendation rate, control the disease, every two, because also someone that person purpose, don't check the dust, it's not a material, right, but it's not process of injections, you can just watch it. Need to be regulated, United States, but the country should specify the federal rights in case of blood, they did not see the Asian conference. This simple is to check from public station, the African South Carolina, the United States should occur. The mutual water, the Russian sectors like race, delegates on the sources of escalation to 22 current, mutually senior information, for like a percent cost. Yeah, the US Forest Foundation, the because of the paper, mutual subsidiaries, and the major monsters, nevertheless, academics and agreed, started from the Italian 26 the US concluded technical social development, and not only the Senate, which are US immigration bill, this person just a ton of concerns, but then, what about the process of the shopping and officers, but we would indicate this understanding is in Boston, the day that supply journalists, you know, I will sacrifice which it doesn't exist now, like this first. Start testing the China Russia June 22. No, others with the been taken beyond by the boss system. There's in the US okay. No, all Chinese access to the greater than my service of access to the fight. Chinese is with identifications of US police. The presence of the anti-defense China major, but then they say, was the way we're such a much more about it. You can only incredibly show that the war for the China major government is related to China operations. US as the next time I say this kind of way. The Congress unanimously passed legislation that is my non-use of bad faith and against our responding the president should have been. That's only simply declared as expanded non-use of bad faith and against our responding unconstitutional and unenforceable. Congress should confer the constitution to the president writing the statute void ab initio that could be dissolved when it's modified the law, making kind of the opposite. The limits of congressional powers and congressional assertion about in the statement. Reinstating the statute being 22. Is that a case pursuing a private evidence by sending secondary is for the law paper discretion on this is not using water and also voting on this no breath. The actual rules of this are reading on the admin on adoption the act of the court under New York, the ADA can include the same actual constitutional statements. It can serve me. This would be dietary congressional level organizations on the pure sentences. Much of use and that's what the most good conflict the war fishing on use and it's no such a limited war power which is the things that you act without don't use. What's another similar advocate to double to super don't determine about it. The actual like of the program versus the commission presidential misbehavior activism. Presidential actually more spirit what is not just about war price, actually use the word and request to actual right to reward information less than anything that were this. They see that expectation text translated, which is under current doctrine now being increased with new changes to us. And I would think German law limited change person might get to you. German only saying the margin US and the problem changes in law may legal block of an issue in the future. New German protection is stored to use the new German two sector resources from London branch by the team, German sale in small areas. These will be portion charges that German services and represents the German protection process and the created doctrine that are inconsistent with his brain protection. So we will target small businesses with present litigation risk. Today, small businesses are targeted by control because they like using the litigation list of the German also can be used in the topic. Trusting to the best, but through second or so many years, the trust German's beauty. Small businesses are high market economy. Therefore, small business continue to be the financial American economy. Small business qualifies and 9% of Boston made the one after the voting check like 3 May 2024. Economic rate state of the station of 16. But also some problem with the economic strong years and never. And then like I'm good on the electronic sheet of service, but trigger the rest of the body. It is not in context of US and they Russian in war. Whereas on that was the machine come on like people were making the future there's no government use the ratio of Jewish and Jews instead of I don't know what the rule. Which can actually in this case, the one knows every I only get to a kid, the legend will suffering you can should no one does rather than which this is one analysis and so this one little several upside like causes selection like this is that if you're not a strict explanation of it's going to make it target no result of the number of years running from the catch them like because the instructions are very always making it do comes on top of average or hours between the department during summer the military officer the internal and getting through the can also scamming scamming call centers in Asia though everyone at worst will scam all the countries get lines but regardless scamming through call centers is not solved by targeting domain names and all comes it's not the worst this is the virtue to keep running his motive as it's in approaching for her episode 3 in Asia work usually agents we told parts of their hand and Asian geography and new radicals of extension I read and creating and comments what of the best way of doing this never markets and decisions to increase the regulation with more of a general market forward and turn to there at the US car gets nowhere near I did that's done to scan cause and physical death right away I did that does not keep the terrorists cartels trafficking drugs etc all that way factorism is an accidental loss of seen as some limitation of it they never get to government so they're not like a voter economy even though there's sort of genius six contacts and they cause products are making people overturning coming about some of the external beds 6 fat force and ever since they break the war towards colossal pets were investigated who's been influences which often the causes these 7 the playing the case of this is in every other country 8 never causes station but or 20 high fidelity it's a balloon every way fidelity which is in outside after my data the matter numbers open station worse things like these 75 members who were off after one happen have a long incubation not just risk effect so I don't know why in terms of communication to range of existence and have to which cause none of the particular fidelities before 9 by 0 oil now bring a figure 19 and figure 18 by register illustrated to their natural selection works against devastation for realistic condition check up you want to see one effect which is known as the urban gene complex to by gene I don't think we're advances no making consider and level of the right and antibodies are going to be word develop vaccines generally covers and availability negative and the odds Attribution restraint and keep release checks out, but advance to which 20, I'm not saying that because it's, no, I can release content much less gonna attribute there, and not 75, limited attribute there on the diverse, retaliation, no one has ever got from side, but the same race to pick and reduce, no, but it's not, no, I should make kind of an attack, is it would reduce, equal retaliation, and bring resolution, never could just on the acceptance, suggestion control, no matter if it's no, there, endorsement, no, China would be on the, would attack US African, but only can win in our public North Korea has no capability. No which war is entered advance prevents escalation, 2017 is when yes, but attention to this I have not allowed to escalate over a lot of companies in the group, but regional economies only after the law of integration goes we were not going to see worker and powers are considered as we don't work opportunity to take to lose this very any conversation governments to work in the break, then powers to minimize global aspect from them into conflict.
For those. Yeah. Feedback, we can't hear you.
Like the body, do you know, is that okay?
Yeah.
That is,
Condition.
pick links is,
Yeah.
yes, okay. Each project team, a spec team.
Sure, yeah. Yes.
Okay, signing statements, unconstrained, unconstrained or constrained?
Sorry?
The internal signing statements, is it like unconstrained or is it constrained, John?
Unconstrained Trump is bad.
Uh,
Allowing executive board powers to go unabated is bad.
goals needed, stuff about like larger firms, small businesses, and the economy. Trump passed like some horrible tariffs just a couple of days ago.
Well, those are just put on pause, and so investors obviously have a little bit more certainty in the economy.
Yeah, they're more like, it's like undo a global financial crisis.
So you can't, because they were paused, they're not in place for at least 90 days, they're more willing, they're probably.
So after 90 days, what happens? The
They
economy.
will probably extend that, businesses will be able to adapt to them because they know they're coming at worst.
Okay, so businesses
At best,
adapt
it's
to
definitely not
financial
gonna cause a
crisis.
recession.
Huh?
It's definitely not a recession level, because either A, businesses adapt, or B, they
Security
don't
thing?
have.
Hours, protection of trademarks, securitization.
Yeah, the Halbert cards is that the way in which you protect IP, is just locking down secure networks and knowledge so that they're put into small little sectors that only few can acquire. We also have links based on the entirety of the one EC in one, here that's like.
Yeah, go for it.
Is
Okay, well, the first thing is plan, the second is the way in which the Malaysia strength like South Asian stability. That's what they consider describes in Malaysia as a threat to democracy and rule of law. The desire to uphold those Western values, we think is another reason they get it.
Where is that one?
The third, the Dickinson card and the Sonorak card. The third link is to terrorism. We think that the absolute results in violent militarization, violent interventions to stop terrorists once eventually the attempt to stop them. Fail.
Key subsets, case list.
It's like antitrust, sovereign immunity,
Lawful use only for SUVs though.
no, it could apply to all kinds. I mean, like, if you write it to only apply to SCPs. but
Okay, so
it
like
could
the
apply to all
plan
kinds.
protections, the trademark. Could, any trademark protection.
But you only apply them to trademarks that are under the ACPA. Because it's
So
specifically
what
the
trademark is
non-specific
not?
bad faith intent.
What trademark is not under the AC?
Any trademark that is not online or uses domain name.
What do you mean not online?
Trademarks that don't utilize a domain name are not protected under the ACPA.
Uh,
Like that's all literally your entire one.
the advanced kind of plan, how does it hold cyber squad is liable?
We don't think we don't think we have to like hold the, they're both held liable in the status quo, but we think.
Why are they
they're all
liable?
alternative means. Well, the whole point is that they're held liable, you just say they aren't enough. We think we solved that through a litany of other ways to check them from. Actually, the phishing scans being successful.
10 minutes section. 10 prep 8. They're gonna get first order. Get that. Give me 1 second. Alright. Order is gonna be the cyber squatting advantage. Topicality subsets. The. Ace bet, actually, wait. 808, sorry. And perhaps, there's one more card, that I didn't put it in the body. What's the card on? Two subsets. We. Order is cyber spawning, key subsets, ace bet, signing statements counter plan, cyber counter plan, the advantage counter plan, the security critique, and the trademark policy.
Yeah, one more time.
Cyber spawning, key subsets, ace bet, signing statements, the cyber counter plan, the advantage counter plan, the security critique, and the trademark policy. Okay, say everyone have the doc. There are no objections, so I'll start. One T one malware filtration is accidental, as being 7 systems, cause misattribution, stress, exposure, pressure, and nuclear miscalculation. That's active 1T2. Yes, we solve Asian scavers because they brought the in-run restriction card to me that U.S. frameworks are able to be enforced internationally, but also they won't turn to other countries because U.S. has more wealth fees. Most wealth purpose scanning comes from there. 1T3, causes is wrong. It was above 1T4. Yes, its ability impacts is existential because the countries are already on the edge. China and Japan for it. 1T5, yes, terror internally. 720 is the key vector because they're able to steal identities, which doesn't do a slew of other activities, which feed internally to all the other numbers that they listen, but all causes are wrong because the human fault that was on above. But 1T6, no, yes, terror impacted it causes extinction because they quickly hack into nuclear systems, which then spreads and causes a misattribution and escalates. 1T8, yes, healthcare class are responding takes billions of dollars from healthcare funding annually and is the biggest internal link to their funding. 1T9, no internal link to all causes because the healthcare industry is immediately being attacked by cyber squatting. 1C10, yes, disease impacts the external and corporate emails become pathogenic and conditions amplify infections and causes neural delay and vulnerability. That's a real 1C8, yes, or 9, yes, bioterror impacted its existential causes gene edit, self-propagating agents and microbes to overhelp versus with lethality and traceability that's gone on board. And Ackerman 1C, not 11, the capability strength was not above cyber attack impact, and the innovation war was also above. These subsets. One, we need any infringement or receives protection under the app. Two, it needs subsets. KCO 9 is within the bounded areas of the industry completely or conveniently outside. Three, lists availability accuracy regarding specific case law and subset gaming system also or other ensure. Four, over the main course broad and generic absolute fixed generics or counter their inter only are interp solved. Five, functional limits. Check it and plan for plug ban patterns with generic application politics in other words. Six, application the word for the final legit self deficit raising very actually and self their elements and reasonability was raising bottom and substance ground. Eight, IPR is wrong. There requires increasing in mass word trade secrets and proprietary technical data for foreign persons. Once you house 88 foreign persons secure including mass word trade secrets and proprietary tech data. Eight fact, it's wrong. One character keeps the only operating destroys that provision and inhibitive equity. Two, debatability. Eight, powerful destroy complicated by focusing on process not self next education. Three, no ground loss and cost checks. Single PA solve custom guarantees normal wavelength. Four, reasonability committing interpretation tree to race the model and self outside statements. One, from negotiations the Stevens Hall on. Two, from the car plan and also conduct should the secure means certain meet or BDC allows on rule exceptions. Or C10 or also the challenge the after taking all cases also the should the after taking most cases specific for example for good reason. X by the one versus the USFG is X by the USFG, whereas versus four actually postal service although independent established with the government is actually the federal government. Three, certainty is the only resulting service with provides the certainty of business described. Otherwise it is a net class. That's great goal. Four, from that capital on another issue with limited to such as title net but an instant remains that capital is potentially and functionally better as like main fares and out and uncertainty. Five, the only resulting circuit, split, provides the certainty of business described. Otherwise industry will never class and for the fails. Sprinkle state process account for motor destroy artificial short color when all sell against overvalues will net benefits from death and cost for poor universities. Seven, no net benefit. Eight, no spillover. One instance side statements can't solve broader structures of executive overreach. B, say no organization makes the counter plan fails. C, trouble horizon. Anyways, it means that there's no impact to the counter plan. D, can't solve. Cover 24 president too much power to take the country into war, but power isn't good for democratic or conflict increases the circle launch wars without permission. Iran, Libya, Serbia, Yemen, Vietnam, Cambodia, war on terror. Nine, non-Muslim voters. This can be seen as ability to read that office, destroy class education, or running to waste costs like cost and burnout, disassaults, etc. One, from that, destroy declares cultural ability to foster insider space. Two, doesn't solve Trump asking capital needs nothing adversaries. Three, no one's real link. The plan is not strictly logical or cyber broadly, only for cyber squatting attacks. Four, cyber defense is inedible. Because will never invest in cybersecurity or adversary doesn't develop new cyber capabilities. But five, cyber attacks outweigh and cause significantly to solve every nuclear hacking and vulnerabilities, which all go nuclear. Six, neutral vulnerability is wrong, doesn't solve stability and only risk escalation. Sandro, 22 vulnerabilities is interpreted based on assumptions of the greater ability to disagree about the value better off to the organization portion of negotiating computer war meeting build up and under the cards. Five, no guarantees and integrity tourist countries. Sandro, 22 states around the law which will leave on the law and try to negotiate worry about intent or fear that the parties might cheat them to superiority. Six, won't risk it having zero chance of hacking or reach. These countries won't risk first striking. We have some surrounding countries that they can't prevent second strikes. Seven, John is wrong. Eight, pulling out the defense board. Actively poking Chinese cyber anything else, which is an app, which is a cyber defense is better than mutual vulnerability. Inserted below. Go to the share. One from Ghost Shields, two from the counter plan, any combo with links, three links to that benefit, the yellow joining plan, all these links to the trophy and all that money also costs inflation, which also causes an impact. Four, can't solve. And watch doesn't solve the psychological factors that make people susceptible to cyber attacks and the way that they run the plane means that only trademark holders get and watch, which means that all non-trademark holders get squatted, and that's an all cause. B, education doesn't solve because the psychological factors that C comes. C, insurance allies is wrong because protection doesn't solve the ability to have between countries, even if the US protected it wouldn't matter because internally. D, in fact, suspect IDs fail because IDs are completely legit when they're stolen through cyber squatting. E, funding hospital also fails because it doesn't prevent the root cause of hospital funding costs, which is cyber squatting. CIL plan fails. One, from the app and CIL is best. Two, do the work the app and perm to the last plank, crossfly all the definitions from above, crossfly calculus function, crossfly cross calculus or a voter. Four, can't solve. CIL. Eight, knows over. One instance doesn't solidify commitment. Two, international norms. The other instances. B, no ball. Numbers can't agree on anything, even by person agreement. The top brings in chain of international norms. C, UPRP is the only international norm and it's spelling out. D, crossfly certainty from above. Security. One, for everybody paying consequences because of how to develop the unique links and equals links the blast and any class for structure in class. Two, for both, all links are all panel rules as go. Three, the they can't say each other activities, two, besides the big religion family and they're all bigger laws, plus internalize technical failures. Four, supervisation is good for this the are key to the channel, talent, all the narratives. Listening from 15, watching the developer and approach the single narrative dominates space, the limited degree to often consider the narrative plural facilities, flexibility, of pattern impulse to strategize, the comfortable disorder, planner for day-to-day defense of world, trying to develop stabilities, lots of 2000 Leos, energy forever, actually, pragmatic approach. Consider the rest of our own, that is part of a larger world, be able to sustain a more stakeholder policy, extend for rural intervention, drivers of our internal approach, creativity more from environmental issues, convergence strategy, 5, no link. The basic generic link doesn't assume that cybersquatting protection. 6, the all fails. A, cases per impact real, reject workloads policy, and cost extinction set. B, no spill up, synchronizing every other racist outweighs. C, project load phase is unfair and unpredictable, destroying flash. D, security ejection fails, can't overcome our rights anti holidays. Begins 2, securitizing security is not sustainable, believes the belt cost of security and heavily structures the belt to be differently dispersed, assumes that maintaining your system of battle to practice challenge, dom, discourse, problematic, vulgar, to understand not exist, or that position of the right is not, challenge, dom, destruction, the vulnerable get for problems, and the strategy not, right, challenge, establish, politicization, go to the troll scam. One recession now, there are 8 the comments of the first law, and the consequences of terror, that was that reduced volume of international trade on rare, rapidly terror prices will be long lasting and fear guys, the recognizing the value of the US, well, the words on clubs in his videos and copies, and recession to call, the secret of project concerns, the warning terror, regarding your damage, injury, process 2, lintern 8, gas all trolls, prioritizing non-use turning back, filters with average information guard, allowing for long location, that's PMO, B, small business are a key vector of cyber spawning tax, LP 24, but small business and analog values, different data, where you use some cyber tax. As well as the vulnerability of increased server time generations jeopardize this is well running super addressing the not disability fishing risk of malware will cause a field pass on influence of media also recovery lost revenue market lost revenue C business certainty only resulting from the right asserting that business is great otherwise it's people never class that's Frankel D there's no terminal to it because economic decline like economic decline is part of the global investments. Because no. Big plus.
Binding statements, that should be card, sorry, the copy card says presidents have too much power now, they're engaging in wars, etc. Why, what do you think this card gets?
Yeah, it's just that presidents will always have too much power, which means that.
Where does it say
It says
presidents
it's
will always
back.
have too much power? It says that like.
Second paragraph says structural factor, they will always have too much power, the counterplan one cannot overcome.
Wait, what? It does not say this thing.
I think it's idle. It
Well-
will say something structural factor is gonna be gone.
Okay, sure. I'm confused why this is like a deficit.
I mean, it means that the counter plan can't solve that benefit because you can't overcome all of the checks that guarantee presidential.
Okay, sure. Currently both, the counter plan like bans the plan, like maybe renders the plan illegal. How do you do both?
I mean, like, writing the plan, well, if you make the argument, non-mutually exclusive parts, first of all. Second of all, banning the plan is wrong.
Okay, cyber counter plan, why is cyber defense inevitable? Like, what's, is like the military gonna just like inevitably gonna always secure all defense no matter what? Like,
Well, I mean, like,
when they pay the
Trump's never just gonna like stop investing in cybersecurity. He's always gonna like invest in cybersecurity no matter what, and that perception triggers.
Okay, so investment in cybersecurity. Alright. Security K, why, what do you think the eldest in credit card talks about framing as threats as necessary? It seems like it's just talking pragmatic approach and like talking about challenges without just talking about.
Well, the evidence isn't like, the evidence is about particular assessments of threats is good, because if we only have one theory to explain our international relations, that fails, and that.
Right,
takes
it
out
seems
the-
like, it seems like it's saying that we shouldn't approach it as just threats. It seems like we should like not do that, otherwise it causes foreign policy interventions that.
I think that is a massive mischaracterization.
Okay, sure. I guess the trademark controls, or no, not trademark. Reasons or 15?
Sure, conditionality, process power plans, floating pigs.
Okay, cyber kind of plan, so won't risk it warning, is it just like countries won't go to war over cyber attacks?
The whole risk it argument is that countries like with 0 chance of hacking your nukes means that like they'll never risk a first.
Wait, if there's 0% chance of hacking our nukes, how do you access war through cyber attacks?
Well, we access cyber attacks because they hack or the only malware infiltration means they.
You
But,
just
like,
said
the
there's
counter
0%
means-
chance of them hacking our nukes.
But the
Okay,
counter
so
plan, there's a
it's
0% chance of
impact.
hacking.
You just pick out. Sure.
Under the counter plan, there's a 0% chance of hacking.
What?
Let's put it out.
Yeah.
It's two subsets. The security K. Advantage, and then the advantage.
Wait, what did you say?
T subsets, the K, the advantage.
Got it. There are parts, right?
Yes, that's another guy.
When my partner downloads the.
Subsets.
Subsets K, case.
Twissy is not running counter interpretation of protection, which means they basically drop T. We mean it's wrong because the outgoing covers trademarks with the domain names, while some of them do not have those. Protection IPR requires protecting all of them. That's the house. The T is a jurisdictional issue, which is if the app isn't included in the topic, we shouldn't have the burden of a joiner. They have dropped the definition that says that protection requires protecting all of the areas, which means that the app should not be something that we should have to negate. The indite is irrelevant because they have no counter definition of the words. But anyway, it's wrong. Trade secrets and technical data aren't included by topic wordings. No evidence assumes the exact wording of the topic or the resolution, which means that you can just jurisdictionally bar this out. Security. Framework interpretation evaluates these justifications to plan prior to its material consequences. The role of the judge to bring harmful rhetoric if we win that Duacy participated in valid rhetorical practice or great reason against truth, vote negative. We are not advocating for you and you lose, but instead you're running for a model that actively prioritizes truth and reflect construction. It's best first research instead of rushing to unqualified authors on evidence and access to research for academically verified scenarios you should announce paradigms that teach debaters to rationalize ludicrous scenarios and leads to apathetic terminates. You proliferate violence and conspiracy theories just because it can't second starting points done. Not 24 undergrads that went that the right answer while you go and sees itself. That's that theory said or not to drink something you can come on that theory. Sorry. Wednesday you put one in front of you things either from the other feature which has a different these alternative worlds. Third plan focus is bad, then there's 8-minute advocacy. Fourth setting consents trains you not to defend your language choices, justifying racist and sexist rhetoric and eliminates the predictable negative ground. Fourth is fiat is illusion. The plan is to actualize, so we take out this activity comes prior. Fifth is affect. Do not be meaningfully disentangled from policy. That's why you're 22. The IRS been there we can see that communication is needed. Understand that was narrative different discussion. Such a response I can be the only response to policies. Whether Bob said them sending me through the dynamics. That have occurred if traveling with reps. Is key to research agency are shaping policy or counter studies show motion. Shape policy already brains have do not invest the reason that's separate from how we feel all judgment can strain emotion that's simply refuting offense. It's not definitely need to attention to reps as we do it. Actually power for close alternatives and change structure of balance. 6 is arbitrariness. We might turn all justification to rejected. There's no reason to affirm. We wonder on presumption of their interpretation or 7 psychic balance. Third 18 cents of your death for your life capacity. For consideration of the choice made with schools every one's going to decrease spontaneity way more fear. Less about the organized ideas from the world outside individualism and everything. The feeling of hostile world individualism means misery of the individualism based on previous emotion is including physical and psychological balance is severe for politics, nature, spiritual politics divides people. No offense, first right to paucity, the affirmative. It's been a serious score in defense of the resolution. They can punish a negative power, be terrible running gun strategies as securitization. Be able to defend their reps, they pick what they want to put in the way so you can check all the cards and change tags. Second is no impact, fairness, and clash. Or internally, the only impact from base what we learn from it, fairness, ontological. No clash produces unethical subjects, has our ability to critique them. Third is predictable securities. Twice as low as the debaters in this room, they get securitization good, predictions good, reps on real, etc. Fourth is topic bias is simple. From there, you have unified replicating across the 3 topic areas and negative needs, balance, areas to counter ask. They have access to bids, villains, worst teams, proliferate anti-educational process counterpoints and T arguments. Attempt to counterbalance the loss of negative 6 is not unique structural barriers like fairness. Like campus being called bias associated economic guidelines, previous T debate. The game provides people one side swing substantially more. Next argument is to do both. No current, the all is incompatible with First is later. This says the demonstrated way in which the apps that perception makes securitization. Shape the apps policy in a bad idea, which you all reject, or they sever every justification, which you and Shimmy functionally kicks both advantages and negative assumptions. Second is framework data must defend
their representations permitting the alters attempt to cover up their violent arrests. They said no subject to leadership wrong. First, competitive sentences and neg one, you should feel comfortable voting against Woodward for this choice against security and forcing them to go back to the drawing board, finding justifications for when they're isolated from their horrific impact chain. Second is ethics, even balanced in nothing. Ethics as if your actions development set a precedent is good, you should not be complicit in violent militarization. Next argument is securitization good. Their card is about in the abstract, but it's not in so arcade because they have no warrant for why the app specific securitization is good. But the impact was dropped, which makes it charted out and desecuritized. First, ego side, the American way, life guarantees, infinite bombings and environmental destruction. The US has intervened in 28 countries, destroying binary resources, injecting tons of carbon dioxide that footage shot eye, making nuclear war and environmental devastation inevitable. Second is genocide, the umbrella goes power, invokes civil colonialism, infinite interventions and surveillance that subjugate and destroy otherized populations. Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, millions dead and maimed. That's what's a prioritized probability. Their infant SRS doesn't justify trying to solve all of them. You should be acceptable predictions. The after there will always be about prediction for but if you wouldn't run the US as Europe and Japan said, if you have ideas for observers of specifically Washington saying the word the whole political forecasts to the vertical peaceful and the Cold War reveals made over estimates and predictions give for business and for everything. Things are wrong to see other process when you get advice that videos are about them negative sharks with have a far greater impact on policy of the essays and way drives that warning has been over that says much able to predict one in the doubt that predicting worst case scenario trends versus is often as they stop the reverse side China's for to stand up for prediction US was versus and such Russian power the weak now the one is to replace a broader American anxiety and insecurity, inflating threats to legitimate security issues and empirical expansion in several ways. First is phishing. The acronyms protecting trademarks is a matter of national security, requiring state protection, prevent adversaries from interfering with our military networks, viewing militarism as a necessity. That turns the case. The reason that preemptive postures exist is because of fear of adversarial attacks. Ambiguous indicators are framed in the worst light because of the fear of the other, which you all saw. Second is South Asian instability, framing South Asia is unstable because it becomes an excuse for militarized aggression. When you see Dickinson describes it as a quote threat to democracy and the rule of law, demonstrate the desire to uphold Western values at any cost, and as is important for international security policy, according to when you see Zarka. That makes South Asia more unstable because we intervene to protect Western values. Turn the case. Third is terrorism. Yeah, it's a new war on terror. Attempts to prevent terrorist funding will inevitably fail because there's vectors that they could get money from, resulting in the need for violent intervention. Case intervention results in more support for domestic terror organizations. The alternative, vote negative, reject the licensed security policies, favor the articulation and security. The way we construct policy matters just as much as the policy himself, which means all it's political insofar as regularizing policies. In this way, that's better. The all solves the case. There's no need for securing military nexus in a world where states cooperate. It would result in programs to aid Southeast Asia without the need for military involvement, cooperative counter-terror operations with other countries, global health networks, investing, distribution for societal well-being, etc., which solves our often states that threats not real. First, no way we are saying your threats don't exist, but rather the application of those threats as a motivation for policymaking that makes us seem good policies do bad things, which is a question that makes Phil and then we're beyond avoiding peg which answers our arguments. Phil was then above on 17. We get the alternative as well, which also answers the rejection argument. Case. Solve security happens backwards. When I see cross-X to explain that trademark owners or cyber squatters, if they demonstrate use, they can keep the trademark. But every one of their cross citations that cyber squatters using them in the status quo of the fish, which makes napping nice and inevitable because they will get the trademarks, and trademark owners and don't use their brands can still be cyber squatted, but they cannot solve globally either. Cyber squatting ops will move to attack other countries, causing their impacts to occur globally. No cyber impact simulations empirics data prove attacks stay below the threshold. They drop their cards. Then say the adversaries lack capabilities and restraint and attribution check. There's no internal link to Asian war. Their evidence says that instability results from aggressive militarization, but no evidence says the app solves that. No Asian wars. Geography makes invasions impossible, and new sufficiently deterrent economic independence ensures stability. That's green and tunnels and no internal link to terrorism. Limiting the largest source of terrorist funding will only result in them finding a new source like smuggling, trafficking, gambling, etc. None of their evidence says reverse causally that cyber squatting is key. All of their evidence lists a bunch of other reasons that on search for reference that they can also get money from. No disease scenario internally says nothing about total cost of help from small email scams. That's incoherent and dumb for decades. Hospitals keep chugging even if data is temporary breach.
We take a second. 7:41. Okay. Good for cross. Yeah. Framework, what's the acronym?
If the app proves your justification for good,
What's the justification?
the justification is if it's a reason that the plan is a good idea, reciprocally, that's a justification for the plan, that the negative ought to be able to disprove.
So,
So if you say like, then the plan is justified because it prevents terrorism, right? Or the plan is good because it prevents, like cyber attacks, we think those are thus reciprocal ground for leaks. Because those are things you.
okay, just be clear, if we prove that, like, our justification about solving all of our impact scenarios outweigh your links, movement.
If you win that, like, your justifications are good, i.e. the way you frame those policies is beneficial. And outweighs all reasons why.
Any one of our justifications are good, or all of them?
You have to beat the links, like, so it's like,
So
Basically,
I,
you have to-
I think everyone, correct?
you have to answer a link, if you wanna win the justifications, the one you are good, you can't just drop 3 links and answer one of them.
Okay, but if
So
I
you have
win, okay, just a question, if I win, like the app scenarios outweigh the links, is that a win?
No, it's about the way, like, the representation of those scenarios, it's about how we frame those scenarios, it's not about like materially the app stops in China war, it's how did you frame China and the.
Sure, let's go to the link level, the only links you sent were the phishing link, the South Asian stability link, the terror link, correct?
You're correct,
And approximately none of these have evidence, correct?
no, that's wrong, the one in C card.
The one in
Not
card,
true that,
you can be aligned,
No,
I would be impressed if you can be aligned the one in card about either of these scenarios, any of them, please.
the one in C card is about securing militarized networks against IP threats, which does substantiate the phishing link. But also, like, it's a case where, like, I can make links by pulling quotes out of the one AC evidence that.
Okay, it's not correct, it's got it.
We have quoted your one AC, that is, I feel like that is substantial evidence that there is a link.
Let's go to the securitization good stuff. Your only answer was that securitization good and abstract did not answer arcade, or like the top level answer is that, but then you have a bunch of things about securitization in general being bad. Not agree.
We think securitization is bad. Okay, so.
Okay, so we read securitization generally good. You said securitization generally good does not answer, and then you said securitization.
Yeah,
generally
because
bad.
securitization good doesn't, your card is about like broadly, like maybe doing a securitized policy is good, it's not about the app. So we have made specific.
Is the ego
laws.
mindset, it's not about that. I'm a little confused.
Yes, we have made causal link claims about how the app would enhance the military.
So you made
Result in
causal
violent interventions
Right.
locally. All of
made-
our links have an impact.
made causal links of the app securitizing it. If you can access these general securitization map impacts, why can you not access?
I don't think these are general, we made causal claims about how. the
I'm not
app
okay,
is-
I understand that you have those impacts of those links, but you also make these ecocide and genocide arguments.
Yeah, and we think the app causes those things. Because we think that the way that the app frames your policies, the way that you do politics, results in those things occurring because they result in violent interventions. The way that you justify policies matters just as much as like the material consequences of them because it shapes the implementation of the plan.
That's fine.
Seven,
Or the one. It's not saying yet.
seven or seven. Seven, six. That kind of plan. Finish kind of plan. Cyber kind of plan. The control of the stack. Backing statement. You said that again. Or you said that again. Advantage of time. Finish conference, cyber, controls, signing statements, case. And maybe.
Then let's see them.
Those can get off signing statements. Everyone good? I'm pulling it up.
We're gonna try and plan concede for developed test competition, cyber counter plan concede for developed test competition, but we'll concede that Trump won't have mobilize against advertisers, solve all their offense, trust and concede, do it back that researchers are part of the cyclical route and don't actually escalate anything, sanitation. How do we get what we did? One, select picking counterparts are key, strength connection of IP, executives requiring more defensive setting, as the effect on the two is deeper to region, perfect finish in the make, then two logic counterparts and unpredictable non-consensual rule that denies and then successful should always remain a logical option. Arbitrary rules are worse than no rules and allowing that to unilaterally reach all the bounds of a debate, displacing substance on defense, one achieving utility, having more efficacy, streaks and value. And there is strategic abilities to school and approach, just as we have a perfect case, 3-second balance, don't worry. Now, by the way, with it can be second balance to us, we don't get to read the counter rejected, no one consensus, there is not two force parents, counterparts, the world 3 point increase blanks, 3 cancel blanks, 2 CD cancel block, 4 researchers in that goal, and the straight best argument, the 2 always report, and turning just that solves. Conceded the impact of separation of power outweighs costs of misgovernance for plus there was nuclear war in every due to lack of oversight makes it policy impossible and just ways the military intervention was part retaliation that's search no new actions than what they are is in that have 100% magnitude and probability which was one who was trying to build this summer for starting 10% invalid the plan by stripping his the legal force which effectively bans the plan fear requires the force us to doing both of being coherent. It fails one downgrade it really gets a timid make or other causes the force of holding the next whether it's the potential interpreter similar as part of the review now the first page for the letter should have went on whether the same or the computer tells about the president says on it on one hand, nothing more expression on the other, non course with that. It is a return of the portrait and the expression product two, standing up with the plan brave century course with the case. Movement record says go of course when I say the right confidence not nature by your words that they should not something the same as present have an obligation to take here locally executive the rule should not present execute the same as president on the non-list class with law and the purpose of the planning not and only the 2 is permanently covenant and it's separate as the whatever in a ground class and only made it the plan is the opposite of prohibition that the plan non-constitutional same as they will not law avoiding legal effect and also proved the result of that downstreaming implementation will pay by way competition to base for moving effects kills graphic extending conflict cost limits no different than the US model with international counterpart and follow on per se setting the law where the government pressure and enforcement to deal with the service constitution with originally constitutional list no much have to become a government is appropriate to interpret that constitution with those the variation has been recognized only in volume also increasing areas of reals constitutionally relevant decisions between the force of enforcement of us if not formally rather than treat that provision as advisory will not the force category indicating visual and constitutionally can instruct on the executive separate portions of it, none of portions that what is damage that generally and should friendly focus on application that is the scope. Production and by law making 5 restrict by law to preserve it, define as enforcement legal 3 to limit active production the same as before the mechanism of the production of intellectual property specifically defines country through the difference of formally economic and empirical digital revision to owners of intellectual property. None that can be as supports law allow 22 enforcement and cover entity into a force idea is protected by law 2022 intellectual property rights are being rights of according to laws resolved by law which rights as 64 results in active defines coming into establish by law 23 is 23 definitions that get another because government can be should nor USFG now 23 is a deficit that government assault against the plan of legislation that depends the sentence that is law is not abiding in the constitutional purpose and that challenges them which allows the court to strike down as a permissible executive direction that results in full codification of the plan that's being the surgery deficit is not often good plan being harder and when procession versus don't know about their phobia so they think that every before process is uncertain that happens that's go to uniqueness very exists to signing submits with all law and certified law and executive yielding after passes that allows for reversal means that only the covenant is received as final see there's no problem for what certainty is there evidence literally says that will take as much certainty as they get which means the covenant is definitely enough once we support the issues themselves they'll say they bring the text it really just be one part of the plan which means the plan the covenant is still happening at the same time over the issue of non-use that means that to build it answers up by 100% the premise is legitimate because the function is one ground and internal net for this kind of race which are only the only way to produce offense on this topic is the person one that full instructions leading germane offense to prevent text shuffle and act unpredictable functions to is shape no words from the vision offense you got to the system this growth of my function by discrimination words in the text free road and it's make it by a plus on function on text mode but all education by comparing function birds and interpret the plan non competitive unpredictable arbitrariness the words that she was achieved and invasive function temperature resolution ground the text that makes the ability to engage just by arbitrarily limiting out everything negative position turns out how it is not very serious just by saying 3 which is individually the resolution covers individual actions there is each of it is elimination acting the analysis and the days of the verb action plus the action three covered domains the target is more than something after verified from topic of the interest justify removing much of the rest of the application process resolution wording and unleashes a sloop discourse that advances advantages that individual the topical placing on station strength and eliminate ground now they say your plus comments are bad no link there's no ground for what plus kind of this but it's they're keeping that flex on the topic with the 3 topic areas with negative function there could cross by arbitrariness from condo above no they say there's no much, Trump, it's good, the kind of solve congressional contracts. Since president, that gets control, which goes over that means, that is same as the SOP, which all, no over the 10, and necessarily to have the citizenship, closely bringing the American Constitution and conventions to the president of the veto with general law, the land, that is, guaranteed with the incident of the I love it, Mark, I love it, and last part, red goes next, because it says congressional power with that.
We have seven, or 7:14, sorry.
finally, and then to, you know. Being sent out. They're pretty good for. Oh, yeah. Order is cyber squad. Subsets. The cyber psychopath. Finding statements psychopath. And then the security.
Sorry,
Yeah, that's it. David.
The case T. Cyber counter plan signing statements can.
Yes. Interrupt me if you are not good, also.
Yes, so the playing also has got his liable in court and during our jurisdiction means that they be liable internationally because interim jurisdiction under the NDCA means that they be sued in domestic court even if they do cyber squatting internationally. Now, yes, they get the trademarks and they're gone, but people who are not using the trademark, people who have to use the trademark in order to keep the right, but people who are not using the trademark are the cyber squatters according to the Comptroller evidence. Now, they've drawn the advisory impact protection as well as the NDCA public agents, but my group still currently enforcing legality, interest, responsibility, supersedes the criminal affairs, because it means there are means and motives that cover after disease defense does not apply, which is planned out and pathogens, which circumvents the disease, the circumvents disease of the defense, T substance. Top class is taking production by DR with the corporate plans and trademarks. We did not drop the production of the drop this, they drop it it's included by their wording, which means you also brought the interpretation of our house. The house evidence also includes mass words, trade secrets, more like technology data, and all this topic does not work this way because they got reasonability of some person, and they often take us for numbers below T debates, which is also will networks mostly better interpretation because of the act. Limits of the status operation, they go as far as to the act, what we do on this topic. Now, overlimiting our ways of interpretation, the jury's makes fix. The nature race fix of one that probably based on we after no waste of also different technology, cyber. Drop it levels on the carbon on the app, does it fall into the carbon. We would turn opportunities on the line after the case, we did not prove that impacts, strength statements. Certainty data only lasts for specific amendment ACA, was all the current explained to provide certain interpretation subsequent cases of key. Provide business and universal certainty that any endorsement is successful, they quote claim to not come with the tourism, but enforcement records cannot solve internally. I mean, fact, it's from the that's common to a bold code case happens later on, which cannot solve that. Processing goes act and address state that matter is uncertain, but is plain certain, which legislation is binding that is key. Now, second uniqueness is wrong. If price nature evidence is not about the ACPA law, but rather the study statements law, which is state now may set clear boundaries and support for the non-binding equivalent without force of law, with a certainty that because it could be rolled back with the investors do not proceed to over fiat. Good language, big language driving the split capital will be enough profit broker. What do you think? Unless he's made a source of only, which is considered rates and resources now, you'll be in a liability. Do the capital and you just manage the account, the plan as the account plan loss, top account profits bad. It's high testing exposed outward and limited towards class and favor and it's the rest game plan is wrong because they claim it results in the end result of the plan. And they claim the end result of binding. They say competition, the competition mandates go check. You know, we see it. They say the plan possible will still result of the plan. Means it's not competitive. It's the competition mandates. It does not matter. Which they still say the result of the plan is logical. Butterfly effect is wrong. You should use proximate effects. It's always possible to turn into effects. I guess never absolutely is our absolute value. 15. I guess you can see what's the law and the theory that idea of absolute agree on that's what excellent no matter position comes penalty. What's the this protection is not the plan exercise type testing. Either way, the force law things are is the end result of the cap plan is still binding. It's what they said on certainty as well. They said the end result be still enforceable. Now even if the process isn't legal with binding, the end result is AAPN 1800 is legally enforceable. I view like to not have that enforceable go when he said you can be no less enforceable. The result is not the plain testing and things harder, which is hyper testing and it's meaningless because policy statement would be 18 the result must be with the questions about the resolution. Cost capital is a bad route that you want to see. What's the rating as a result? It's not arbitrary and it's something that we use like much and not necessarily advanced capitals out here to use the assault and interoperate well. So keep going. With the other reviews of plan graduation and remember this went off to the next year responsible like in fact you need this is all team work 1 minute and go to other words get with the access and unique use rather than it's good. It's biggest game is where the words way to the biggest not saying so the reach competition of first psychology and so fact associated with school research result avoiding all way visibility with the thing or post stuff done which was office competition is not their office I did above and you should not pretend that it solves like first cruel optimism but sort of impact you cannot solve research debates or some emotions and your that's the thing because I think it's a technical issue to try to double down on the office and start points is wrong or interpretation down and not enable militarism. The zero one why they depart why the plan can be why the plan can what the plan can do with its the velocities and velocities only the plan. Now plan books is good keep class top solves lines and you should go straight down to the ways to be able to lose ways no trouble like that but it's a good FYI. But the benefits would be anyway after it's wrong interpretation not the rest is not I did above I did not I did above there's no such grounds but not future politics we're not future politics actual results would be really finishes in fact above not pretty both above public advice cannot solve pretty really your process challenge do not answer fairness balance cannot solve cannot solve both fairness. Now security license is good. Actually cannot waste it to reversible. And in certain cases you cannot do focus during nuclear genocide. There is no missing link, we don't pay to rest of the national security, but the software companies now no ASIL link, we've not paid it being disabled. But the thing is this addition since has existing to cyber bodies in fact democracy, but regardless of zero internal link to any of the links, the impact because there's no reason why blaming ASIL like that would cause any ecoside impact. Now the alternative cannot solve cases, not the whole cyber score is liable court. You should not let them go back on Twitter, it's only attacks and there's no word why they'll solve other things, security attacks and bills, which they cannot assume that internal links to the impacts between when we impacted every single internal link to the every single link on the security gate. 5 game.
We'll figure it out.
Okay, the order is signing statements. Okay. Okay, signing statements, case K.
Check the argument, the team, kick it, the K, the counterpoint of the perm, the K outweighs the case, and you all solve, you just have to win. Frederick win this debate, case, they dropped the only argument on bioterror, this is almost presumption level, there's no healthcare until I scramble, to the way you see to find a hint of quote collapse of bioterror, it's not there, Hernandez in Batsburg only says that acts would take some patient info, and maybe divert some ambulances, that is nowhere near collapse, there are thousands of hospitals, and the government will always jump in to make sure they don't completely banish that mitigates any effect of bioterror or pandemics causing extinction because there will always be care and medicine somewhere. Be willing to assign the scenario zero risk when the cards don't have they have cut, make zero claims are a power tag to the moon, plus the one error completely drop this argument. Again. Flag at the top, they have dropped the predictions fail attempts. They're all become attempts to get a paycheck before anything else. Their evidence hypes up bioterrorists to make more money because they get more viewers and readers. If they were to hype up the threat as existential, that means there is zero risk in the case because all of their threats are fabricated. This is presumption level because the plan's consequences are false and they have not read the burden of portraying them as true. But either way, the K comes prior to the case. It's tried out to desecuritize. First is the eco side, the American way of life. Guarantees infinite bombings and environmental destruction. U.S. intervened in 28 countries, destroying finite resources, destroying the biosphere and causing endless wars that cause the extinction, which acts as their extinction level premium that the 2ER will go for, which means extinction outweighs cannot be a winner. Second is genocide. They have umbrella of U.S. power, but accelerated colonialism and infinite interventions. Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, the millions dead and maimed. That's Wilson. They dropped the prioritized probability. There are infinite existential risks, but that doesn't justify trying to solve all of them. Otherwise, we'd be trying to solve Auschwitz right now. But we have a causal link to both of these, which they have not answered in 1AR. First is phishing. Trademarks are a matter of national security under the plan to protect military networks, which proves their investment of militarism as a necessity, which without framing causes violent interventions to happen in the first place by creating improved military technology, by creating justification for invasion of other countries. Because we must protect the U.S.'s militarized national security interests. Second is terrorism. The outbreak to new war on terror attempts to prevent terrorist funding, and then we fail because all those vectors they could get money from are sold in, and then they can always get money from other vectors which they have dropped, which means and then we result in the need for violent interventions to contain those terrorists. Only the all solves the case. And or if I start writing new policies in the 1AR mishandled the all solves case, sure it doesn't do the app, but it rejects the security. The rejection of security results in several measures that solve its impact. Specifically, they drop the results in global health networks, versus social and societal well-being that eliminates the motive for bioterror to exist, and also eliminates the motive for bioterror to exist in the first place. The 1AR didn't extend theory are perm here, so no new answers. Also, it doesn't only need to reject their security framing, but beyond new policies in place, like the app does, is the case. Optimism shows the plan because we know it won't ever occur. Securitization go was answered above. We have specific links to the app scenarios, and the 1AR barely breathes words here. Framework is all I need to win now. Our interpretation of value when these justifications force the app to defend the rhetorical project. Any reason they claim the plan is a good idea should reciprocally be grounds of neg links to the consequences. And that everyone agrees the plan doesn't happen, so material consequences of the imaginary world should come secondary to those that happen in the real world. We will let you weigh those material consequences of the plan, which solves their fairness and clash arguments, but we should get our wins. 2AC1 was research, which was dropped by the 1AR. Their interpretation results in violating basic academic standards by showing unevidenced impacts, rushing unqualified authors. Ours allows us to critique their sense against truth and deprioritize direct construction by forcing them to defend their representation. Losing to the K forces Woodward back to the drawing board, turning debate away from horizontal proliferation and conspiracy theories to vertical proliferation of defendable scenarios. Research skills outweigh is the only portable skill for debate. No matter what we do in life, being informed about the world is beneficial. The game only has value from the skills it creates, and the plan doesn't encourage to prioritize what we take out of this activity. But they also drop affect. We meet their interpretation because affect controls plan implementation. Their conceptions of IR
cannot grapple with the communicative and emotional elements of policymaking narratives that make violence possible. Our brains cannot reason without feeling influenced from how we feel, meaning the plan cannot be disentangled from the representations and justification of when you see that they have forwarded, which means that we have linked severe material consequences of the plan, which means RK must be predictable under their interpretation. Fairness and clash are not started. They can weigh the app for God's sakes, but also we're going for the security K. If they could have predicted that, they can't predict anything. It's ancient, and they could have defended the 1AC with securitization good or a true defense of their scenarios. They have infinite craft to craft the 1AC. So not defending it is academics cowardice, and you should be punished with about fairness. This is not a wax eternally inactive. It's key to the game. It's simply eternally to education, because that's all we take away from the game. Or it's something nebulous and tautological, but their question is an unethical subject which is violent and creates militarism. Debate that does shape sharp activities. Two wants were dropped. First, competitive incentives voting against Woodward. First, go back to the drawing board, which is above seconds ethics. Even if subjectivity shifts false, you act as if your ballot does create change.
Everyone. All right. We're gonna be case seven. Good. If there are no then. top level of debate that bioterrorism, resonating bioterrorism as an existential threat outweighs links, we win this debate. Bioterrorism is existential. It causes gene editing, self-propagating agents, and microbes which overcome inverse lethality and personality, supersedes and overcome natural barriers through engineering their means and motives. That's Calvin, Bourne, and Ackerman. And they made a structural mistake when they conceded that bioterrorism is happening right now and that it causes extinction. They only address the solvency level of the app, which doesn't actually test the impact level, which means that bioterrorism should be securitized because it is bad right now. But conceded out of the two and R. We know that bioterrorism causes extinction. We see our representations are true and good, and the plan is good. That cold chart of the log and the two learner and our everything else is vague. This means that our representations are good and true, which means they do not win under their verdict interpretations. They have not disproved our justifications. So when they can, they need to disprove those justifications. They have not done. And bioterror should outweigh all the links on sheer magnitude. U.S. security, their interests are just about endless war and interventions with the U.S. But you should bring that as the interventions have happened for a long time already, and it hasn't successfully into nuclear war yet. You never know exactly when it is going to turn into nuclear war, but you do know that bioterrorism is happening right now and is existential, which means that you should prefer preventing everyone dying now rather than preventing everyone dying later, because we only die once. I mean, this is a classic outweighs on time frame now because their links are too slow. Security. Top level, I'll concede framework, two framing issues here, but we still win the debate. One, Timothy Cossack said that if we win, then our justifications outweigh the links, then we win the debate. And two, they say that we get the weighted plan, so obviously we're gonna weigh that offense against the critique. I'll do distinction outweighs top level is irreversible, and so you should prioritize it over all other impacts. This is the only one that can be reversed. That one conceded out of those two so we shouldn't do the work for them there. The predictions fail stuff is wrong. There's two frames. One, or actually wait, I need to go back to the case. The healthcare internal link stuff is wrong because there's a couple more. Yes, internal link, the damage, like the cyber-spotting damage destroyed U.S. healthcare. It was extended throughout the debate that the cyber-spotting attacks drained healthcare of that money, which caused inevitable collapse. None of their evidence is responsive to that, but also we get new answers here because it was a cross-apply from the disease impact scenario to the bioterror scenario. So new answers are justified, but also framework means the solvency of that is irrelevant because they have said that it's only a matter of the justifications and whether they are good or not. Solvency is not a part of the justification, which means we just have to win that our impact is true and doing that is good. Okay. I'll go back to predictions fail. You should further specificity all of our scenarios, which they have not addressed. Just in our general sweeping claims predictions fails, assume that arguments have indicted predictions. There are only warrant predictions fails without this hyper money, but this warrant obviously needs to indict specific authors to get them anything. They have no reason why or scholarly researcher would need to hype this up for more and more money, which means they haven't identified they haven't critiqued it in the positivity of our specific evidence, which means you shouldn't do the work for them there, and you further that our specific scenarios are good. I'll do the ecocide and endless word stuff here. One, there's securitization is broadly good for narrative pluralism through various focusing on specific challenges in the world is better than searching for an overarching doctrine. The pragmatic approach considers the threat on its own terms, analyze issues in specific context. That pragmatic policy approach avoids unnecessary intervention without meaning. That's else, and that solves other intervention. The things because we're not just saying that we should do always that, we should rather do a pragmatic approach that focuses on each single policy and determine whether they're good or not, which means we don't actually link to their intervention stuff that was dropped out of the 2 and R. I'll do the phishing link first. There are tons of holes. Link 1, 0, 1 for why phishing narratives cause intervention in the 2 R. If you can't explain to me post-draft, you click can't vote on it. 2, drop that we are not securitizing phishing. It doesn't cause intervention, but prevents intervention. Cyber squad is being prosecuted in random jurisdiction, which prevents them from taking cyber squatting globally, and in foreign countries causes more militarism. That was dropped. And the terrorism link is wrong because they can see that bioterrorism is happening right now, which means that it's wrong even like the terrorism link, terrorism is true, so you can't get them off this, and the only warrant was that like the terms case warrant doesn't apply because our impact is about healthcare class, meaning we can't solve terrorism, it's coming now, which means any increase in terrorism doesn't matter, so we have a strong healthcare system will be able to defend from it, and the intervention stuff doesn't matter, that was also done above. Yeah, all case is wrong. Global health network is technically status quo. It doesn't solve for the cyber squatting attacks, which is what our internal evidence is about. It says that cyber squatting attacks destroy health systems. Obviously, implicates all. That's obviously not new because that's just our internal presented throughout the debate and the solvency. You have to evaluate whether the solvency links before you can weigh the links, which they completely dropped out of 2 and R. One, securitization rejection fails is not successful because their approach is not the opportunities to differently and securitization because they don't exist in a vacuum. Their links don't assume our impact parts. Also, you can't radically change the status quo, it just triggers a security gate anyways, that's using it, I mean, all cases, they're gate.
Good bit.